20% of the world's oil passes through a waterway just 21 miles wide. For decades, it stayed open, a fragile agreement between superpowers who knew what closing it would cost. Then, on February 28, 2026, everything changed. This is the story of the Strait of Hormuz, the war that shut it down, and the man secretly fighting cancer while making decisions that are reshaping the entire world. To understand why the world is holding its breath, you need to understand the Strait of Hormuz. It sits between Iran to the north and Oman to the south. At its narrowest point, it is just 21 miles wide. But through those 21 miles flows roughly 25% of the world's seaborne oil trade and 20% of global liquefied natural gas every single day. There is no easy alternative, no pipeline big enough, no route fast enough. Whoever controls the Strait of Hormuz controls the energy supply of the modern world. And right now, nobody fully controls it. The road to war didn't start in February 2026. It started years earlier with failed nuclear negotiations in Geneva, a prior 12-day air conflict in 2025, and years of mounting tension between the United States, Israel, and Iran. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched a coordinated air campaign against Iran. In the same operation, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was assassinated. Tehran's response was immediate. Missiles and drones rained down on Israel, on U.S. military bases, and on U.S. allied Gulf states. And then Iran did what military analysts had warned about for decades. They closed the Strait of Hormuz. Washington's response was aggressive and at times chaotic. On March 9th, President Trump publicly claimed Iran's military had been destroyed and the strait had reopened, a claim that was immediately contradicted by satellite imagery and shipping data. By mid-March, he was demanding NATO and China step in to help force the strait back open. Then, on April 13th, the U.S. Navy began blockading Iranian ports entirely, creating what analysts are now calling a dual blockade. Iran blockading the Gulf, America blockading Iran. Two nuclear-capable powers in a stranglehold with the world's energy supply caught in the middle. And then today, April 24, 2026, came a revelation that nobody saw coming. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu publicly disclosed for the first time that he had been secretly diagnosed with and treated for prostate cancer, while actively commanding Israel's role in the war against Iran. Netanyahu, 76, said doctors discovered a malignant tumor less than a centimeter in size during a routine follow-up after prostate surgery he had in December 2024. He chose targeted radiation therapy. The tumor, his doctors now say, is completely gone. But here is the part that stopped the world. He deliberately hid the diagnosis for 2 months. His reason: he didn't want Iran to use his illness as propaganda at the height of the war. Think about what that means. The man making some of the most consequential military decisions in modern Middle Eastern history was secretly undergoing cancer treatment while simultaneously overseeing a war with Iran, an ongoing conflict in Gaza, and operations in Lebanon. His health was the subject of intense speculation during the early weeks of the Iran war after AI-generated images falsely claiming he had died circulated on Iranian state media. Now we know those rumors, while false, were happening at the exact moment he was privately fighting cancer. On April 17th, Iran announced the strait would reopen to commercial shipping during a ceasefire truce connected to the Lebanon conflict. But the situation remains a powder keg. The U.S. Navy blockade of Iranian ports is still in effect. Iran has been selectively allowing ships from certain nations through China, Russia, India, while blocking others. The Islamabad peace talks failed, and now, with Netanyahu's health revelation adding a new layer of uncertainty to Israeli decision-making, the question every analyst is asking is the same one. How close are we to this escalating into something nobody can walk back from? 20% of the world's energy, a 21-mile choke point, a war nobody officially declared, a prime minister who hid his cancer from the world, and a ceasefire that could collapse tomorrow. In Episode 2, we go inside the Islamabad talks, what was actually offered, why they failed, and what the collapse means for the next 90 days. Subscribe, because this story is moving faster than anyone expected.